Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses. During this hearing, we've heard a lot of points made about high prices related to energy costs, but I'd like to shift focus to the core of what I'm hearing from my constituents and farmers and seeing in my district. Washington State consumers pay particularly high prices, and farmers have very high input costs. My constituents, both the farmers and customers, are hurting. In addition to these increased input costs, farmers are having to deal with being squeezed at the other end of the pipeline. I have heard firsthand about the very heavy-handed tactics that grocery store chains use to negotiate, or as you put it, Ms. Pryor, just set the rock-bottom prices that they will pay farmers and growers. Your testimony, Ms. Pryor, reads like what I hear from farmers in the district. We have the apple farmers in north central Washington. You already made very clear in your testimony that you are price takers and not price makers or negotiators. So let me be clear about this, that while big corporate supermarket chains are playing hardball with farmers and demanding the lowest prices, they've exploited the pandemic-era supply chain challenges to rake in profits, and then they continue to this day, even though the supply chains are no longer strained the way they were. For example, Kroger reported only a slight increase in sales through fiscal year 2023, but its sales and operating profits have continued to rise, to the point of almost 45% in 2023 alone. So sales stayed stagnant, prices and profits up. Also, in an email disclosed by a court filing, a Kroger executive even admitted that milk and egg prices were significantly higher than what was needed to account for inflated costs. And this happens with dairy as well. So the high prices we're seeing at the grocery stores, by the way, are not just from these hikes at the stores themselves. There's gouging all along the supply chain. For example, 3 companies, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and Keurig Dr. Pepper, control 90% of the bottled beverage industry sold in the US. They've all cut production. They've all increased prices, so they're selling less, making their cost of production lower, but they are making significantly more profit. And they pass that on to the grocery stores. But then that doesn't just get passed on to us. The grocery stores pad those prices even more. Basically, they're blaming inflation to cause even more inflation. And then we expect high prices, so we continue to pay them, and they deliver. Right now, families in Washington State face the 4th highest average weekly grocery bill among 48 states. And at the same time, I've spoken with farmers in my district who've been put out of business in the last year alone because the supermarkets keep lowballing them while charging us the high prices. Ms. Pryor, apple prices are definitely up in the stores. Have you seen any of these profits trickle down to you?
We have not made any more. We have actually had a slight decrease in what we have received for our crops since 2021. There is those middlemen in the middle, though. So for me, unless you are a grower and have a packing facility, the way that we pick ours in the 20-bushel bins, that can't go. That's not ready to go to a grocery store. It's got
and I understand that as well.
And so I know there's.
I will tell you that in my district, and you already have problems negotiating, I'm really concerned that Kroger and Albertsons are trying to merge. This means that prices will go up because there will be less competition. This will affect about half of the grocery stores in Washington State. So that is why I am calling on the FTC to block this. It'll be the largest consolidation of supermarkets in US history. It would be terrible for consumers with higher prices. It would be terrible for choice, and it would be even worse for the orchardists in my district who will have zero leverage in terms of negotiating prices. So I want to call attention to corporate gouging. I want to call attention to this, that this does not help our orchardists, our other farmers, our dairymen, or other producers, that what it's doing is hurting us and not helping family farms.
And I feel like by you acknowledging that consolidation, imagine too, if farms aren't profitable and strong, we're going to see more consolidation with smaller farmers that can't stay in business, and then that just hurts future generations, that hurts the people's ability to have choice and diversity, because it takes all sizes and all types. So we don't want to see people having to sell out and be bought out by bigger farms. We want everyone to be profitable so they can stay in business.
We need to keep our family farms, and that's what I want to see in our farm bill. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Julie yields back. I'll